Yeah. So thanks for coming on, Bill. I guess to start, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and talk about who you are, what's your story, and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks for having me, Peter. So my name is Bill Widmer, and I've been an entrepreneur for over 10 years. I'm from Pennsylvania originally, grew up there in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. Had a very interesting upbringing that was different from a lot of people here in Austin in the city. But it's been fun. It's been a really cool journey. What are some things I can share? I guess I lived in a van for a while, traveled
Hmm.
around the country. Um, I've been different places around the world. One of my favorite things I've ever done was I went on leadership boot camp in Namibia in Africa, where
Wow.
yeah, they taught us about what it means to be a man and leadership, and we actually led our own expeditions on the backs of motorcycles and learned like some first aid stuff and all kinds of cool things. So that was a lot of fun.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, and I guess the main thing I should share about myself is that I am an entrepreneur who coaches other entrepreneurs. I have a business called Focus Founders that me and my friend Rex work together on,
Hmm.
and we're just really passionate about helping entrepreneurs create lives that they love and helping them with their own sovereignty and sticking to their own commitments. So yeah, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And as you're talking, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so curious about so many different pieces of that. So maybe we can just like start with one piece at a time. You've lived a really, really cool life already. Pretty, I would say, adventurous and not conventional between traveling out for that leadership training or just living in your van or just entrepreneurship, even in general. And I'm curious what sparked that all to begin with, because you mentioned you lived in Pennsylvania in the middle of the woods. How do you go from that to like, I'm gonna have this crazy life where I'm gonna go and start my own business and then teach other people to do it and travel and adventure?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. So, I guess we'll just get deep real quick here. Get right into
Yeah, I love it.
uh, yeah, my entrepreneurial journey started because I was really, really depressed as a kid, borderline suicidal at points.
Mm,
And growing up in the woods, I like had, and I moved around a lot. I was constantly going from place to place. My mom didn't really find us a stable home until I got to high school, which was when I finally was in one spot for a few years. Um, and because of that, it was just really hard for me to make connections, which I'm an extremely hypersocial person most of the
mm,
time.
mm-hmm.
And I had none of that when I was younger. And so that led to a lot of like depression and feeling misunderstood. And I was bullied a lot being the new kid. Um, and all of that led up to eventually after high school, I was working a job. I was at Dollar General actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this moment working in the store. It was the middle of winter. I had to be there at like 4:30, 5 a.m. when it
Ooh.
was like snowy and cold and miserable outside. Um, and I was in the aisle stocking the shelves, and I just had this moment where I just broke down into tears
Mm,
and just started crying in the middle of the aisle. No one was there yet. It was still early. I was just stocking and stuff, but
mm-hmm.
I just I couldn't live that life any longer. I just hit my breaking point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was kind of at that moment that I decided, all right, I've got two options if I don't want to live this life anymore. End the life or
Mm,
figure something else out and make radical changes.
mm-hmm.
And so I decided to try that option first.
Mm,
Um, and it was that night, that very same night, I went home and I applied for college. I ended up getting in. I went to Penn State
mm-hmm.
and just kind of joined undecided, didn't know what the heck I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. Um, but yeah, I applied for college after high school and just went all in on learning and trying different things. And then in college, I met a couple of professors who saw something in me and really encouraged me to go into a business degree.
Uh-huh.
Um, and it was because of those professors seeing that in me and like encouraging me to follow that path that I ended up getting into like sales and marketing. And one of my professors actually helped me start my first business. He like walked me through the whole process, creating a business plan, like making the name, the legal stuff. Like he helped me with all of that. And my first ever business was a promotional products company called 61 Promo. I don't even remember why I named it that. I think my street name had the number 61 or something.
Uh-huh.
And, and I started it and I had two customers the entire time, my mom and my professor who helped me. So that was my first like toe dip into the entrepreneurship world. But I did manage to get like very, very close to selling a local hotel chain, my products. Unfortunately, they shifted who the marketing director was in the middle of our conversations. Like, he stepped down and somebody else took the role. And that new person, like, I just got kind of like put on the bottom of the priority list. He like had no relationship with me, nothing. And
Right.
so it fell through, but it taught me so much about what it takes to start a business and about sales and about creating relationships and all of that stuff. And it just like, I got an itch from doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so from there, I went on to just try anything and everything. I tried drop shipping stuff from China and selling it on my website. I tried buying stuff from a local flea market and reselling it on Etsy and at other flea markets. Uh, I tried a couple of other things, but the first thing that really stuck that I was like, oh, wow, like I can make money doing this and it's sustainable was I became a freelance writer.
Uh, uh-huh.
And so my first ever article that I got paid for that I was like, oh, I can do this. It was this super boring insurance article that took me like 4 hours to write. And they paid me $5 for that 4 hours of work.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, my brain was like, holy shit, I just made money to write things. I
Yeah.
didn't care that it was only $5. I was like, whatever, like I'm sure I can find a way to scale it up, but somebody's willing to pay me to do something that I really love doing, which is writing, even if it was on a boring topic.
Right, right.
So that was what kind of like, okay, that was, and that's still my career today. Like to this day, I have clients that I write content for, and I learned other things that allowed me to charge more. Like I've learned about content marketing, and I learned about search engine optimization and showing up on Google, and I learned just like what it actually takes to run and promote a business. So all of that informs my content, so I can charge a lot more because I know how to get traffic to it and eyeballs and make it useful.
Totally.
Um, so yeah, and then there was a little sprinkle in there where when I actually lived out of an RV and a van.
Uh-huh.
So I lived out of an RV on the East Coast right out of college because I didn't want to live in Pennsylvania because it was so cold
Yeah,
and I didn't know where to live. So I was like, why don't I just get an RV and travel around and see if I can figure it out?
totally.
And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, spitting out a lot of things here, but it's just
Keep going. You're doing great.
fun to go
This is
down memory
awesome. Yeah.
lane. So when I lived in the RV, me and my ex-partner, we decided to start like a travel blog to share our travels with like friends and family and stuff. And that blog eventually became my guinea pig for when I was learning SEO. And so I was writing content
Oh,
for that travel blog
right.
on topics that could then rank on Google. And eventually I grew that travel blog to 500,000 visits per month, all from Google.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, and so it was making quite a lot of money. And I actually ended up selling it when me and that partner split from each other. And we just split the profits. But yeah, I've got a lot of different business experience, like building and selling, and even a little bit of like hiring and managing and all that kind of stuff. But there's like all of my 10 years of entrepreneurship put into 5 minutes.
Totally. I think it's amazing that you went and tried so many different things and that you had the mindset of, oh, I just worked 4 hours on this article and got paid $5 as a positive reinforcement to keep going. Because I think a lot of times when people are dealing with struggles, whether it's in entrepreneurship or something else, if they hit a roadblock or something doesn't work out, or they think, oh, I just worked 4 hours for this and I only got paid $5, maybe that's a time that they want to give up or something. And so how much like time would you say you spent doing stuff that didn't work out or wasn't sustainable until you kind of hit that point where you were able to sustain yourself? Because I kind of want to like see from your perspective what it takes to actually make it through and just like how much work it actually takes.
Totally. Yeah, I've had three successful businesses out of
Uh-huh.
all the ones that I've started. And all three of them have had somewhat different timelines, but I would say in my experience, it takes at least a year
Uh-huh.
of really like going after it, especially if you've never done it before and you don't have any clue what you're doing,
Right.
uh, to like get to a point where it's a sustainable income that you can rely on and maybe like quit your job or I'll go all in on it.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, or was there another part to that?
Yeah, it does. And I'm kind of curious for you, like not for the individual business, but also just as a whole, kind of like figuring out how to do it from that beginning where you had your business and it was just like your professor and your mom to actually learning how to do the business. Cause I think that's probably the more important thing. That's probably what you're trying to teach too, right? Is not just, oh, did I make money, but how do I actually like learn and change my behavior and figure out the different things?
Mm, yeah. So it's a bit of a difficult question to answer. It's going to vary so much person to person,
Totally.
depending on like how much extra free time you have. Like, do you have any kind of experience, stuff like that? Um, but I would say in general, if you have support systems in place, like people to help you, like I had my professor.
Yeah.
If I hadn't had my professor, who knows how long it would have taken me, or if I would have even been able to do it at all.
Right.
Um, so with him helping me, it probably did take me at least like a good 6 months to like figure out even just like a little bit of what I was doing. But keep in mind, I was 20 years old and had never done any kind of business. And
Right.
I worked a few sales jobs, but that was about it. So I had
Yeah.
no clue what I was doing versus, someone who's a little bit older and maybe has had some experience of, if not business, then just like experience of making money doing something unconventional, whether that's like doing favors for like massage therapy or something, like how you're going into that. If you've experienced like
Sure.
offering a service and getting paid to do it, like that's the hard part.
Yeah.
The business stuff is honestly fairly easy. It just takes time. You have to know where to look, and that's why it's super helpful to have somebody to like point you in the right direction.
Gotcha.
Because the information is all out there. We've got all the answers to any question we could ever want out on the internet. It's just a matter of having the mindset that it takes to be self-reliant enough to go out and find it.
Yeah. And that is actually like it's a really great point. And I'm also wondering that is so much easier said than done to have that mindset, to have that drive. And maybe it's like the way that you're teaching your clients now or how you found it in yourself. I know that one of the big things that you mentioned was when you're at that rock bottom place. It sounds like one of the drivers was, I can't live this life anymore. I need to go make radical changes. But yeah, for someone listening in, if they're trying to find that drive or find that motivation and it's hard for them, what would you recommend?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. So whenever we take on a new client, the first thing that we do is go over creating a vision for their life. Uh, we really prefer to get people intrinsically motivated, meaning they've got an idea of like, wow, if my life could look like this, that would be so incredible. And so it's not about like, oh, I have to work really hard to make X number of dollars to pay my bills and continue this cycle or whatever. It's like, oh, I have this vision not only to quit my job, but like I want to move to Hawaii. Like I want to go scuba diving. Like I want to partner who is everything I've ever wanted, and I want to have this fit body and like make X number of dollars. And it doesn't even have to be X number of dollars, but it's like it's about what that money can buy you in terms of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you're not feeling motivated to run your business, it's probably because you don't have a good enough reason why behind it. If you have that why, it's going to be motivating. Like it's like you look forward to doing this stuff because you can see clearly the vision that you're moving towards. But if you're just kind of doing stuff just to do stuff because you don't know what direction you're going in or why you're doing it, or it's like you just want to make some extra money, then it makes it a lot harder because then you're just going to be cracking the whip on yourself as opposed
Right.
to following that carrot. I
Totally.
prefer carrot over the stick.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I think those are really great points. So what I'm hearing so far is one, we got to figure out the why, the purpose behind, I guess not just business, but like why we want to do anything. That's going to be the thing that drives motivation in the long run. And two, a lot of this information is available out there for how to do it, but it can be so helpful to have a teacher, to have a mentor who's been through it to help you along with those things. I am kind of curious because I also feel like I've been asking you questions just based on where my mind has been wandering, like, oh, what is that like? Or, what do you think of this? What is on your mind in terms of what would like you really want to share with folks about all of this, if there's anything
Yeah,
else?
definitely. Yeah, yeah. Before I mention that though, I do want to say you are a fantastic listener, and I love the way that you repeat back to me like here's what I heard you say, and you're just able to succinctly say that. And I just want to point that out because I run a lot of like authentic relating events and workshops,
That's
and
amazing.
that's one of the exercises we do
Yeah.
is like, okay, it's deep listening, and then we give the other person a minute to like, here's what I heard you say, or what I
Right.
heard you say was, and then repeat it back. And it's really refreshing to, come across somebody with those
Oh,
skills.
I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for anybody listening, deep listening is great. Um, so I guess one thing I'll share is that uh, I've invested an outrageous amount of money into my own personal growth, um, way beyond college. Like, sure, college, I put, 25, $30,000, which admittedly is quite cheap compared to what a lot of college degrees cost. But beyond that, I've spent tens of thousands of dollars, if not over $100,000 on online courses and with business coaches and mentors and things like that. Um, and the reason is not only is it helpful to have someone to hold you accountable and kind of be a mirror for you to show you like these are where you're kind of running into blockers. It's also helpful to invest money into yourself.
Totally.
There's something that happens so the most expensive coach I ever worked with, it was $10,000 for a 3-month sprint. And there's this switch that gets flipped in your brain when you put $10,000 down on something like that. It's like you're fucking committed to that.
Yeah.
Like that is I mean, for some people, $10,000 is not much money, but for a lot of people, 10 grand to invest in something like that is a lot of money, especially because it's like the coaching itself isn't gonna give you the return. You still have to put in the work. It's $10,000 to go and do a lot of work.
Right.
They're not doing it for you.
Totally.
Uh, but yes, I would absolutely say that not only finding a mentor, but also being willing to bet that money on yourself, to invest. I know that I'm going to be able to put in the work to make this thing happen to the point of I'm willing to bet on it with my cash. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. And in a way, it's committing to it so hard too that it would be like stupid for you to not put in the work because then now you're out 10 grand.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Which, to be fair, when I was doing financially better, there are courses that I've bought that were like $4, $5, $6,000 that I did not complete. So it's definitely the scale increases as your income starts to increase.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. It's like what percentage of your money are you contributing to it? And obviously, if it's a higher percentage, then it feels like more an investment.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally relate with that. I think one of the most expensive trainings I paid for, it was 15 grand for 10 days. And it was just an
Mm,
intense boot camp. And in 10 days, you can do a lot of work, but it's not going to change your life forever. And so,
mm,
one of the things that I really came away with from those 10 days is, oh, they gave me all these tools. It would be such a waste if I just sat on my ass and didn't do anything now. And so that workshop kind of drove me forward for the next several years after that to say, okay, I need to keep putting in the work. I need to keep doing those things that those teachers taught me because otherwise I'm not going to be able to find the growth.
absolutely. And that brings up something else for me too, is that I really, really strongly believe in making the work fun, like making it enjoyable and something that you look forward to. Because, I mean, obviously, not everything you do every day is going to be like something you're excited about or that's fun to do. But I think the majority of things should be.
Yeah.
For me, throughout my career, the times I've had the most success are the times where I'm just like, I wake up at 1 a.m. and I just can't wait to jump on my computer and start writing an article about something I'm interested in. Or
Yeah.
I'm like, it's past 5 p.m. and I want to get on and hop on a call with somebody and talk with them and kind of see how we can help each other and make collaboration. And it's like those little things of how can you make this a game that's really, really fun? And this applies to, and I think you'll probably agree with this, but don't even put words in your mouth, but with working out too. Like I am a massive, I work out quite a bit and absolutely love it. And I find that the more that I love working out, the easier it is, and the more I do it. And so I'm always constantly looking for ways to make workout fun, whether that's like taking a class or like playing a game like pickleball, or for me, strength training is like my number one. I love doing it
Yeah.
because I love seeing the progress and being able to pick up heavier weights and then feel it in everyday life where it's like I go to pick up a bag of groceries and I'm like, wow,
I
this is
got
so
this.
light. This is
This is
awesome.
swole.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think intrinsic motivation. I'm all about that.
Yeah. And I think it's super important. It also makes it more sustainable because if you hate the grind, then why are you going to keep doing it for the rest of your life? And
Yeah.
it reminds me of, I think it was Alex Hormozy quote. He said something like, the person who loves to walk is going to walk farther than the person who's doing it just to get to the destination, or
Mm,
something like that. I forget the exact words, but it was something along those
great point.
lines. Yeah. And I, like you said, I see it with other areas too. So my frisbee team, for example, a lot of them hate running, but put a frisbee in front of them and they'll run and chase it down and they're all like super fit. And so, and for someone else, maybe they love just running. And so it's going to look different for everyone, whatever that thing is that they love, to go and do it and, yeah, find that as their path forward.
Yeah, and that actually brings up something else for me too, in that one of the beautiful things about being an entrepreneur and running your own business is that you can find the things that you're really good at and that you love to do, and then you can delegate and hire away the things that you hate doing.
Mm,
And so, I mean, you're going to have to do the things you don't like in the beginning, but eventually you can get to this place where it's like you spend like 80, 90% of your day doing the things you absolutely love. And then you get to make money and manage a team that can just take everything else off your plate. And so it just becomes mostly just doing things that you love and less of the grindier stuff.
yeah, and that's a really good point. I hadn't even thought of that too much before you said that, because I think a lot of times, and this is my impression too, when I think entrepreneurship, I think, okay, well, for someone starting out, it's that single person has to do everything on their own. They have to manage all the fun stuff, but they also have to deal with like the paperwork and the boring things and the contracts or whatever they don't like to do. And so I think that's a really good point to say, hey, well, you can pay other people to do that for you and you don't have to do it, and really stay aligned with what you want to be doing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think people don't realize how early on in the journey they can actually do that. I mean, you can hire a VA from another country for like $300 a month, and that's great pay for them. And you get almost full-time hours from something like that. So
Yeah.
things like that, like it's obviously there's going to be a little bit of a communication issue because of the language barrier, and it's like going to take some months of training and stuff. But
Sure.
a lot of people can afford $300 a month, especially if it means they've got like full-time help.
Right. Yeah. And full time help, I'm like, what is math? 40 hours a week for a month is, let's say, 4-ish weeks, 160 hours for $300. That's like $2 an hour ish.
Yeah.
Pretty incredible. Yeah. Yeah. So as I'm hearing you and being with you, it's so interesting just thinking about entrepreneurship because I feel like super excited just talking about it with you. Like, yeah, like go entrepreneurship, go like start your business and do the thing that you love. And if there are things that you don't love, you can delegate it. It's like amazing, and you can have freedom. You can have those things that you want in life. And I'm also noticing myself like, oh, is this almost a rainbows and unicorns kind of picture that I'm painting in my brain? And so I guess I'm curious, are there times where you would say it makes sense for someone to not do entrepreneurship and say go the more standard route versus like when does it actually make sense for someone to go for that? Or what are some of the drawbacks?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great observation, and I appreciate you bringing it up. I would say that anyone with the desire can be an entrepreneur. I would also say that it isn't always the best path for everyone, like, period. Like, that's not a blanket thing.
Right.
Um, Entrepreneurship, especially in the beginning, is a lot of work. Like, don't let me paint it all rainbows and sunshines. Like, there have been many, many months where I worked, 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for almost no pay. Uh, and that's why a big part of you needs to really love what you're doing. Because you're not going to work 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week if you're not loving it. Or if you are, you're only going to be able to do it for a limited amount of time before you just completely burn out and crash.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's all entrepreneurship. Like it's not like that forever. I have an extremely healthy balance right now where um, I'm running two businesses and I'm splitting my time pretty evenly between the two of them, and it's pretty much a standard-ish full-time job
Yeah.
with a little extra flexibility thrown in there. But yeah, this has been 10 years of me tweaking things and going too far in one direction and then too far back in the other direction. And it does take a lot of time. One of the things that I heard that I really resonate with in terms of entrepreneurship is um, being an entrepreneur is one of the most challenging self-growth journeys you'll ever go on. The reason for that is because you are going to find all of your mental bullshit, all of your stories, all of the things that you tell yourself that fuck up your life and make your life harder.
Yeah.
The reason I don't know if we're doing this on live video or not, but I have a sign behind me that says I am enough.
Yeah.
The reason I have that sign is because there have been so many moments in my life where I did not feel like I was enough. I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I didn't feel like I worked hard enough. I didn't feel like I looked good enough. I didn't feel like I was strong enough. Whatever. So many different things that we tell ourselves. And uh, I think when you're just doing a job that you just go to, you clock in, you clock out, there's clear expectations. You don't have to think about it once you're out of the office and you're at home. That's really good for some people, and some people need that stability, and some people need it for certain periods of time of their life, and then they're ready to do an entrepreneurship journey. Some
Mm,
people start with entrepreneurship and then go get a job, and um, I think that's totally okay. It really just depends on your specific needs and how much you can handle at the current stage of life that you're in.
totally.
So, yeah, all that to say, if you want spiritual growth, go be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And you're so right in that. Like, I'm just beginning on my entrepreneurship journey, but there have been so many times where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Am I cut out for this? Like, oh my God, no one watched my video. Like, oh no, like I went to the park to try to get free massages and no one stopped by. There's just so much questioning of, do I actually have enough value to provide people that they would want to
Mhm.
purchase something from me? And then, like, can I actually pay my bills? Can I afford to get food? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets challenged there. And I think that you had mentioned too, for you, you were coming from that place of, in the beginning, especially like pretty dark and having those suicidal thoughts, and probably this feeling of, am I enough, was probably a really big, like heavy thing, I would imagine. And I know we talked about a little bit about that already. And I think it's really cool to see how far you've come and the difference now. Like just chatting here with you, it's like you're super well spoken, you're charismatic, you're confident, you're helping other entrepreneurs learn how to do this. So I think it's really amazing to see, yeah, when someone goes through that growth, goes through that hero's journey, like this can be on the other side of all of that difficulty.
Yeah, like that just gave me goosebumps because, oh, yeah, it's there've just been so many times in my life that um, I've felt the feelings of I am not enough and I am not worthy and who am I to you know, who am I to be a coach? Like
Mm,
things like that. When I first started my coaching business, uh, I actually started it and had like a what I would call a false start. Um, and it was a huge deal because I changed my Instagram bio to say that I was a coach. And this was like when I first started, like I had no freaking clue what I was doing. And one of my exes reached out to me and was like, who do you think you are
whoa.
trying to coach people and help them? Like, you can really hurt people and mess them up if you're not careful and you don't go through like the qualification process of this. And like it
Uh-huh.
just oh, it hit me in the
Yeah.
heart so hard because the last thing I ever wanted was to because when I first started, and I still do this to some extent, but was I said that I work with ADHD entrepreneurs. Um, and honestly, all neurodivergent entrepreneurs, ADHD, autism, OCD, like, and I love people who are neurodivergent because I'm neurodivergent, and all of my closest friends are all neurodivergent, and I just feel like we connect on this really deep level, and I want to help people with that because you know our lives are difficult enough as it is.
Right.
But when I posted that and she sent me that message, I just like totally shut down, threw away the entire idea, was like, I'm not qualified enough. I don't want to hurt people. Like maybe it's wrong of me to try and be a coach. And there's just life's always going to throw you curveballs. It's
Yeah.
always going to be testing you to see if you really mean it when you make a decision. And if you're not solid in that decision with yourself, then you're going to find situations like this arise. And the universe is just like, really? Do you think so? Let me test that theory.
It'll
And
poke a
it'll
little
throw
bit.
you. Yeah, it'll poke at you a little bit. And honestly, I'm so freaking grateful that she sent me that text message
Yeah.
because it caused me to do so much self reflection and self discovery to really recommit myself to be like, no, I am going to be a coach and I am
Mm,
going to help people, regardless of if I have haters or naysayers or, negative comments on my videos or whatever. Like, I'm going to do it anyway. And it's not because I just want to take people's money and grow a business. It's because I genuinely feel passionate about this and feel like I have something to offer the world. And I'm coming from a place of authenticity and sovereignty.
mhm.
And
Wow.
so, yeah, I know that kind of got a little bit off track from what we were talking about in
No,
some
that's
sense.
perfect.
Yeah, it's just, I guess all that to say, be ready to be tested a little bit
Yeah.
and be okay with the tests.
Yeah. And that the tests
And don't
are,
worry if you failed. Don't worry if you fail the test. You can always take it again.
yeah, yeah. And it's like you said, with it being one of the best things that happened to you, the tests are a blessing too. They're not bad things. And I'm really impressed here too, actually, with all of that, everything that you just said. Because, yeah, a lot of people talk about haters or people like giving bad feedback when you're, doing entrepreneurship or just trying to like do your own thing. And I think I've seen a side of the spectrum that's like something along the lines of, oh, well, just fuck the haters and ignore them and keep going. And I think there's a certain positive aspect to that and having that tough skin because, yeah, you kind of do need to do that. But the way that you handled it reminds me of this Aristotle quote that I really love, which is, it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought and not necessarily accept it. And so what really came through for me was, oh wow, you had the like awareness and open-mindedness to say, hey, let me try on this thing that my ex said. Like, what if like I'm not actually qualified to coach? What if I end up hurting people? Let me really sit with that. And you didn't just like shut it out. You weren't like stubborn. And then after really sitting with it, you're like, okay, no, actually, I'm still going to do this. This is my purpose. This is my calling. And I think that is so much more mature and like healthy compared to like one side or the other, which would be like on one side, it's, oh, she's right. I'm just going to flop over and give up and not do anything versus like, I'm going to ignore everything anyone says that's not aligned with my path because fuck them. And then you just end up with a bunch of yes people. So I really love this middle ground you found of, yeah, I'm going to be able to take that feedback, try it on, and then move forward. And I still disagree with it. And I think that's going to be critical for not just entrepreneurship, but like anything that we're trying to learn or grow in life, right? That's such a valuable and important skill.
Hmm. Yeah, I really appreciate that observation. I also want to say that it did take me a few months to
Totally.
really like process that because there was when it first happened, I was definitely like shut down, like, oh, pull the plug, not doing this, whatever, throw it away. Um, and I think a big part of the reason I came back to coaching is because I kept feeling this internal nudge.
Mm,
And being a coach has been something that's been with me for a long time. Like ever since I had my professors kind of coach or mentor me into my first business, I always envisioned that one day I would become a college professor. Like I'd be a successful business person, I'd sell businesses or whatever, I'd retire, I'd become a college professor, and I would just do what they did and help my students. Um, but I just had this why am I going to wait till I'm like 60, 70 years old or whatever to
yeah,
like
yeah,
why don't I do it now?
exactly.
Um, and so I kept following that internal nudge towards that direction. Um, and I also want to give a shout out to my co-founder at Focus Founders. His name's Rex Lawyer. He actually coached me to start my coaching business.
Mm,
So a big part of that overcoming that intrinsic maybe I'm not qualified enough voice inside myself was thanks to his coaching and his help. Uh,
right.
Eventually, we went on to become really good friends and work together now. So we're in it together. But yeah, so I just want to mention I absolutely agree with your statement. Like, don't go extreme in one direction or the other. Like, have that thought and don't become attached to it. I also want to recognize that sometimes that can take some time.
Totally. Yeah, and it's not easy. And it's part of what you said earlier, too, of if you want entrepreneurship to be this huge personal growth journey, it's like those are the things that's going to cause that growth. And yeah, it's just shitty and hard sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I think may be helpful to anyone listening is uh, learn to enjoy discomfort. If
Yeah. Oh, so good.
you know, or
Chef's kiss.
yes, like there's just in life in general, not even just entrepreneurship. You're going to become like you're going to get this. You're going to feel uncomfortable in so many situations. And the more comfortable you become in the discomfort, the easier everything in your life tends to get.
Totally. Yeah. I think that is the biggest superpower ever. If you can go into discomfort, because then you can fucking do anything. Like, what's going to hold you back if you're able to sit in that like feeling of, been saying discomfort a lot, but it could be anxiety, it could be fear, it could be self-doubt, it could be like whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And trust me, I've felt a lot of anxiety in my life, and it is not,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
and I found that the more I resisted feeling the anxiety, the worse it would become, and the more I needed to distract myself from it, which was also a negative feedback loop. So I'd end
Mm,
up spending way too much time watching YouTube shorts about random BS or playing too many video games or, doing all of these things to distract myself that were also taking myself away from the positives in my life.
totally.
When you allow yourself to actually feel it, like physically, like literally close your eyes and go into your body and feel where the anxiety is in your body, what it feels like, describe it, like sit with it. And the better you become at doing those things. And I think, with your meditation practice that you teach,
Hmm.
like that's a big part of what it's about is just allowing it a seat at the table. And then
Totally.
instead of something leading your life for weeks and months and years, it's like, oh, you allow yourself to feel this for 20 minutes. And now it's like, oh, okay, I actually feel much better now. Not that it always,
Right.
but a lot of times it's much shorter than we realize.
Yeah. And I love that you're talking about this because I think it helps to illustrate that all of these things in our lives are connected. Entrepreneurship is not just about, I'm going to do this one thing that's entrepreneurship. It's also, well, if I practice this idea of mindfulness and notice anxiety or other feelings in my body, it's kind of more of a meditative practice, but it's going to be super relevant for entrepreneurship or anything else that I do. And you had talked about you led or currently lead an authentic relating group. Like, that's super awesome. And learning better communication skills through this authentic relating practice, that's going to also improve your entrepreneurship stuff. And it's also going to improve your relationships and just how you interact with people. And so it's kind of like, I guess, if someone was working out, you could say, yeah, you're going to go lift weights, but also make sure you get enough sleep and that you're dieting well and that you're like taking care of yourself in these other ways. It's all going to impact that. So I love that you're bringing it up because, yeah, it's not just a single thing that we're focusing on here.
Yeah, and I love that you bring up diet and sleep and all that because Rex and I are actually working on a course for our free Focus Founders group that's all about productivity and focus. And we have an entire module dedicated to lifestyle, which includes sleep, diet,
Yes.
exercise, rest. Like
So important.
all of these, it's so important to have a well-rounded life in all of these ways because if you're underslept or if you haven't been eating enough, you're going to have brain fog. You're not going to be able to focus as much on your business, and it's just going to make everything so much harder. So if you have that balance, you can get more done in 2 hours and take the rest of the day off than you could in 8 hours if you're underslept and not well rested and you're like just struggling and just forcing yourself to do the thing.
Exactly. Totally, totally right. Yeah. And I guess that's a good point too. I would love for you to be able to share more about Focus Founders, or like how you can provide value for people, or like how they could get in touch with you or work with you. So yeah, do you want to speak a little bit about all of that and what that would look like for folks if they're interested?
Yeah, absolutely, Peter. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, Focus Founders is a community that we built on School, the platform. It's SKOOL. Speaking of Alex Hermosi, he's
Yeah, yeah.
a big part of it. And essentially, it is just our free community for entrepreneurs, creatives, side hustlers, just people doing things a little bit unconventionally. Um, to just come join and create more focus. So the reason that Rex and I partnered up and we created this is because I had my specific focus on neurodivergent entrepreneurs, and a massive hurdle for us is that we get distracted and we go on to the new shiny object and
Yeah,
we keep switching things, and then it's like we're spinning our wheels in all the directions all at once and not actually getting anywhere. And then Rex is a big proponent of creating what we call non-negotiables, which it's like these daily commitments. He says his superpower is sovereignty. And I love that because part of sovereignty is taking full responsibility for everything in your life. And so creating these non-negotiables, it's these commitments to yourself that you're going to do these things today, no matter what happens. And obviously we're human, some crazy shit might happen and you might not be able to get it done. But if you're making consistent action every single day towards your goals, even if you hit a roadblock here and there and you stumble and fall and whatever, you're going to make progress and things are going to happen, even if it does take a few months or a year or whatever.
totally.
So that's what Focus Founders is about. We teach you how to be more sovereign. We teach you how to focus and build a life that you love based on a vision that inspires you rather than just doing the thing to like make some extra money on the side or whatever. Like it's a full, like, let's make your entire life work cohesively together. And your business is just a part of that.
Right.
So that's totally free. Anybody can join. It's school.com/focus dash founders dash free. Uh, and yeah, come on and join. If you're interested in taking it a little bit further than that, we also have a Focus Founders Accelerator, which is a paid container. And it's another group on top of that group that's only for premium paying members. And it's just people who are really like, I want to get locked in. I want to figure my business out, either start a new business if you've never started one before and you need help launching, or scaling your existing one if you've been kind of stuck doing the same stuff for a long time or trying a bunch of different things and you found that nothing's really quite clicking and you're getting stuck somewhere. This is great for people like that who just need that extra accountability, that mirror to reflect back to them like, this is what you've been trying and what doesn't seem to be working, and this is what does seem to be working. So you can do more of what does and less of what doesn't.
Totally.
There
Love
you go.
it.
That's my little
Yeah.
spiel.
And then if they want to find you on, say, like social media, are you open to receiving like DMs or requests to chat
Totally.
about like these things? Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Instagram is probably my most active account. So it's just at Bill Widmer. That's BILLWIDMER.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Bill. Thanks for being on, and it's been super great to have you.